topics and opinions expressed on the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4WN Radio.
Hello and welcome to Fearless Fabulous You. I am your host, Melanie Young, and I am not in a vineyard, but I'm giving you the feeling that I'm a vineyard because today we're going to do a wine show about a place I recently visited. Many of you know that I co-host a show with my husband, David Ransom, who is a wine writer and editor for a major wine print magazine called The Connected Table Live. And we love to travel the world and meet with producers and learn about different wine regions and food to bring our listeners and viewers the information we gather from the places we visit, the people we meet, the wines and food we taste, and bring them to you. Well, I also like to do it on Fearless Fabulous You in my own special way, where the Connected Table tends to focus on conversations with leading people and producers and who they are and their families, etc. I like to take a more fun, fabulous approach because I know that really, at the end of the day, you just want to know what to drink and why you want to choose a certain type of wine, how to pair it with food, figure out where to buy it, how much it costs, and just feel comfortable selecting wine because, gosh, there are so many selections out there. I am a certified specialist of wine with the Society of Wine Educators. I spent 2 years doing that program while I was taking care of my mother. I found that it was a great way to pass the time and frankly do something that I truly love while I was doing a challenging thing, taking care of my mother. I was immersed in learning more about wine, and I am so fortunate to be able to travel with David to different regions with the consortia or the trade organizations who host us, who want us to learn about wine and the regions and the producers and bring this information back to our listeners and viewers here in the United States. So we're going to talk about a region that I have never been to in all my trips to Italy. 7 this year, 2025. But this one region I had heard so much about and I'd never been, and I'd always wanted to go. It was on my Italian travel bucket list. The region is Emilia-Romagna. It's a big region in north central Italy. It stretches from the Adriatic Sea over to way over just under the Veneto. A lot of it is a big fertile plain from the Po Valley. And what's interesting about Emilia-Romagna, it's hard to say sometimes, is that it's considered the breadbasket of Italy. It's considered the heart of much agriculture and some amazing cuisine. So when I was telling people that I was going there, they're like, oh, you're so lucky. You're going to have all these amazing foods. And I said, but we're also going to focus on the wine, specifically Lambrusco, which is a wine that we're going to talk about today. And they were like, wow, Lambrusco. I haven't heard about Lambrusco in a while. What's going on there? Well, I'm here to demystify Lambrusco, and we'll talk about the foods of Emilia-Romagna and where I went and visited on this show today. So buckle up and get ready to take a virtual trip to Italy, to the vineyards around Modena, one of the main towns, cities in Emilia-Romagna. Where is it? There's Bologna. Bologna is the biggest city and one of Italy's biggest cities. Bologna means the fat one. You may have heard of pasta bolognese, a very rich meat sauce. Bologna, very famous for food. It's also famous for a very large university, so it's a big student town. A lot of youth and energy there. It's also known for these amazing walkways called porticos. They're covered and arched, and they're all over the town and connect, and they're actually a UNESCO World Heritage Site. And they're known for these huge towers. It's a city of great food, towers, and the tetto, the covered walkways is what they're called. We only spent a day in Bologna, and we flew in and out of Bologna, and then we were whisked off to Modena, a lovely ancient town, very walkable if you go where flat, comfortable shoes because all the streets are cobblestone, and not even cobble, big stones, rocky stones everywhere you go. Modena is very historic, and around the vineyards of around the city of Modena are these vineyards where Lambrusco is produced. Okay, so what do you know about Lambrusco wines? We're going to start there. One, they're, as I've said, they're produced exclusively in Emilia-Romagna, but in the Emilia part of Emilia-Romagna. Romagna is better known for still wines, like Habana Romana, a very ancient white grape, and a lot of Sangiovese wines, red. Lambrusco is often and incorrectly perceived as a sparkling sweet red wine from Italy. And many years ago in the 1970s, that's kind of what we here in America knew about Lambrusco, because there's a big company called Riuniti. You may, if you're my age, you know Riuniti on ice, Riuniti, so nice. Yes, that's Riuniti, and it's still around. And I actually recently tasted some Riuniti wines here in New Orleans during Tales of the Cocktail, and they were perfectly fine. They were great. But nobody knew anything else. It's like only knowing one white wine or one red wine or one Chardonnay. They only knew Riuniti for many, many years. However, thanks to many efforts to create better educational programs to support and highlight artisan wines of Italy, region by region, through education and the consortio. The consortio are the trade groups that are member driven, with many producers, from small artisanal producers to cooperatives to growers. Their job is to get the word out about the wines of their region and support these producers to help obviously bring the wines to the world. They're trade groups, but they also do a lot of education. So our trip was organized by the Consortio Tutela Lambrusco, and we spent about 5 days. We saw 6 producers, and we toured all around the production area. So this is what I have learned. So yes, there is a sparkling red wine called Lambrusco, but there's so much more. So Lambrusco is one wine in many styles. Lambrusco is also the name of a number of grape varieties and different clones of grape varieties that are grown in this area. There's specific production zones, and so the grapes may be named after that production zone. Those are used to make the Lambrusco wines. Okay, so there is a wine called Lambrusco, there are grapes called Lambrusco, and there are production zones named after the grapes. Okay, I'm going to make it less complicated. Here's what you need to know. The commonality with all Lambrusco is that these are sparkling wines. One, sparkling wines. They can be frizzanti, which is slightly fizzy. It all depends on atmospheric pressure, and I'll get into that in a minute, to sparkling, full-on sparkling, crunchy or small bubbles. I'll explain why. They all, when you pour them, there's like this little mousse, like the head of a beer, like mousseux, frizzant. It's just sparkling wines. So that's number one. Number two, they're made exclusively in Emilia-Romagna. You can't find them anywhere else. In production zones in the Emilia area. And they can be dry. They could be semi-sweet. They can be rosato, which is pink, pale pink, dark pink, salmon pink, orangey pink, yellowy pink, golden pink, like a rosé, or they can be rosso red and colors like dark blueberry, blackberry, plum, really like grape juice, and everything in between. So it's really one wine, many styles, always sparkling, frizzanti or full-on spumante, which is sparkling in Italian. They could be dry to sweet. They could be crisp and lightly fruity, or really fruity and jammy. Okay, so really versatile wines. And this is another commonality. Lambrusco wines have lower alcohol by volume on average, usually under 12%. So these are refreshing, sparkling wines, dry to semi-sweet, lightly fruity and like strawberries and raspberries to dark cherry, plum, and blackberry with more tannin. Always refreshing and low alcohol by volume. So if you're looking for a wine to enjoy with picnics, the beach, light meals, casual meals, aperitivos, to pair with a range of foods, you will love Lambrusco. Okay? So let me explain a little bit, let me get a little geeky here. So what makes the differences in Lambrusco? Okay, it's all in the production method. Okay, and the grapes, because there's different grapes sourced from different areas. And basically, grape juice, even if it's a red grape, it's white juice. So it all depends on how long the grapes are pressed to the skins, because the color is in the skins to make the wine. Okay, that's all rosato, red, everything. There are a few black grapes, red grapes that do have red juice. There's a few. They're called teinturiers, but not here. How Lambrusco is made can be either Charmat. Okay, Charmat means that the fermentation, primary and secondary, takes place in a large tank. Another wine, sparkling wine, that is always made in the Charmat method, also called in Italy the Martinotti method, is Prosecco. Lambrusco and Prosecco are both sparkling wines. Majority of Lambruscos are made in the Charmat method, but they are completely different. Prosecco is produced in the Veneto, north of Venice, in a very specific production zones, Conigliano, Valdibiani, and Cartizzi, from a grape called Glera. That Glera grape creates a lot of green apple. Okay, one grape. They are sparkling white wines. However, recently there have become Prosecco rosés, because demand created it. Prosecco has gone off the charts. Like Lambrusco, it has that crunchy bubbles because of the Charmat method. But as I said, Lambrusco can be rosato to rosso, even some pale, almost yellow. The second way that Lambrusco can be made, and this is kind of what makes it exciting, because you can get so many styles. So if you don't want the crunchy grapes, the crunchy bubbles of a Charmat method, there is Metodo Classico, or the traditional method, which is the method champenoise. Here, the primary fermentation is the same in vat, and then secondary fermentation takes place in the actual bottle. And it's a very labor process where you have to riddle the bottles and rack them and riddle them and turn them and turn them and turn them to loosen sediment. And then eventually the sediment is expulsed and you've got this beautiful sparkling wine. How is it different in your palate? Method champenoise, Metodo Classico sparkling wines, including those of Lambrusco, tend to have a finer bubble. Okay, so crunchy to very fine. That's the difference. And if you sat down and tasted these side by side, you'd get it. The third way that Lambrusco is made, and less so, but we tasted a lot of them, is called ancestral. This is when all the fermentation takes place in the actual bottle. Nothing is moved, nothing is changed. It's all done in the bottle. The sediment rests to the bottom, and you have to shake it and release it. And not shake it, but turn the bottle so you can release the sediment. Sometimes the wines tend to be a little cloudy because there's more sediment. It can affect the taste a little bit. That's where it comes into the term natural wine, because nothing is really done to it, but all wines really are made naturally in most cases. It's just another way of making sparkling wine. It's a matter of taste. For me personally, I love the method champenoise, but I got to tell you, a lot of the sparkling wines that are Lambrusco are made in the Charmat method, and they are terrific. Okay. I'm just going to, a lot of grapes, like 10 to 12 grapes, make Lambrusco. Here's what you just need to know when you want to order Lambrusco at a restaurant, buy a bottle at a retailer, and serve it at a dinner party. There's three main styles. The one that I actually knew nothing about until this year, when I first tasted it, is the one that everybody is talking about. Lambrusco di Sorbara, Sorbara. This is more of a rosé style Lambrusco. It's drier, crispier. It's got very high acidity, which means you're going to have that crispy, also crunchy, but the crunchy, not in terms of the crunch of the bubbles, but just that zippiness, that zestiness, that dry crisp that you love. Very light on the palate. The color is paler. It can range, as I said earlier, from light pink to rosy to light garnet color. Okay, so even a light ruby. You're going to have more red berries, strawberries, raspberries, some violet. I got a lot of violet and purple flowers when I tasted these wines. Love them. Lambrusco di Sorbara. These wines, how would you pair them? Aperitivo, like a rosé, salumi, because we'll get into what's known. Emilia-Romagna is known for their salumi. So mortadella, prosciutto di Parma, salumi, and charcuterie. Great, so great for charcuterie boards with cheeses, fatty cheeses, and salumi. But also, these wines would go with a light pasta, light vegetarian dishes, potato chips, salty. Think salty fat. Okay, salty fat, buttery cuts through that. Really terrific. The second Lambrusco that you should think about is the one that you may have visualized more, the darker red one. It's called Lambrusco di Grasparosa. Grasparosa. This is the red Lambrusco, so it's fruitier and floral, more tannin because it's got more red wine characteristics to it. You're going to get a lot of blackberry, dark plum, dark cherry, the real grapefruit, the real grape juice that you're used to, but it's so much better than that. Very refreshing and compare well with some meat dishes, burgers, barbecue. Oh my God, really great with barbecue. And some of the red sauce bolognese pastas that are known in this region. They're both incredibly good and refreshing. They just taste different on the palate. You'll get a little bit more of the residual sugar in the Grasparosa, but not as much as the next category, which is Lambrusco Amabile. Lambrusco Amabile is probably what many people consider the typical Lambrusco, but in my mind, it's not. It's just a third category. And this is going to be a semi-sweet style of Lambrusco, usually dark. Okay, so you've got the dark colors and higher residual sugar. So you could have these with Roquefort cheese, really tangy cheeses, or you could have it as with Contucci, like Armando bread. Contucci is the Mondo bread of Italy. It's like an almond cookie. Often they're have with ice cream, have at the end of the meal, but they're not sugary sweet. They are semi-sweet. So what that means is they go really actually great with savory dishes. So if you like a little sweetness in your sparkling wine, you're going to like the Amabile. If you want less sweet, go for a bit red and fuller bodied feeling in the mouth, really juicy pop, go for a Grasparosa, Lambrusco. If you want a drier style like a sparkling rosé, do a Lambrusco di Sorbara. So basically there's a Lambrusco for everybody. And they're really easy to find in your, probably not a supermarket. Go to a wine shop, get to know your wine shop, get to know a few wine shops where you live, or go online. There's, go to winesearcher.com. I always recommend to research where to buy wines. So lucky me, David and I got to meet 6 producers that make Lambrusco wines, and all but one are currently imported in the United States. I'm going to briefly talk about them, but not talk about specific wines, because I also want to talk about what to eat if you go, okay? And we'll be doing another show on the Connected Table, more in depth on the producers. So I'll just basically tell you that what was interesting about all these producers is they're family owned. And they all seem to have started in 1925, 26, which was really interesting to me, because I was thinking, what was going on in Italy in 1925, 26? Because most wine growers in Italy were growers who made what we call contadini wine. You come and you, like a filling station, just pour up your wine. So to make a sparkling wine, which takes a little more effort and process because of the secondary fermentation, I had to wonder, that's pretty significant in 1925. I mean, obviously in Champagne, they've been making champagne, okay, for millennium, but this is 1925. So I did a little Google search, and all I could find was that in 1925, Mussolini was taking over and fascism was running through Italy. No connection. But I'm just still curious what was going on, that these visionary producers decided to settle down, buy land, acquire land, and start making sparkling wines that became Lambrusco. I don't know. But here are the 6 producers. The first one established in 1925. Alfredo Bartolani. This is a terrific producer. I just learned that a lot of their wines are very popular here, Lambrusco wines here in New Orleans. At this winery, we also tasted a grape called Spergola, local to the area, that does a sparkling white wine. This is sparkling wine area in this production zone between Bologna and Parma around Modena. So the first one is Bertolani. Okay. Terrific producer and widely available in the United States. The second one is Cantina Paltrinieri, also established by Achille Paltrinieri in 1926. I wonder if they all knew each other. Also imported in the United States, beautiful wines, mainly the Charmat method, which the majority of Lambrusco are. But we also tasted some really nice ancestral method. And they also produce at Paltrinieri aceto balsamic vinegar, so balsamic vinegar de Modena, which we'll get into in a few minutes. But that is something you must try and must buy if you go to Modena. The next producer is Tenuta Galvana Superiore. They're all in different production zones, so they specialize in different areas. This is a 100% certified organic winery. Everything is hand harvested. The wines are beautiful. All the wines have their own unique characteristics, so they use one of the grape varieties used to make Lambrusco. Cantina Francesco Ballet is not available in the United States, but it's owned by a family that also owns and produces Franciacorta wines. Franciacorta is a very renowned DOCG sparkling wine made in the northern part of Italy, much like Champagne, all Champagne method. And of course, at Cantina Francesco Balai, they specialize in the Metodo Classico, aka Champenoise method production. So you're going to have that kind of fine bubble type wine. Unfortunately, they're not available in the United States. But my last producer I'm going to mention. Oh, no, two more. Cantina Poianello e Coviolo is a cooperative. Cooperative, I want to be very clear, is I consider it the WeWork of Italian wine production. So it's when producers pool their resources and share equipment and have certain plots and basically come together as a community producer. They are their own names, but they have their plots of land, but they pool resources. It's an efficient way for smaller producers that may not have the financial resources to invest in heavy equipment to use equipment and do it as a cooperative effort. It is not a negative. It is a positive. And I just simply say to people, think of it like shared office space, or what we call WeWork here in the United States. And the wines were terrific. I particularly like the Sabara wines, the Lambrusco de Sabara wines, the rosatos, just incredibly beautiful. And they also sell food there. You can visit it. It's they have a shop. You can make appointments to visit all these wineries, but they must be made in advance. And if you go, get a car and driver. There are very strict drinking and driving laws in Italy. You do not want to be a part of it. It could be very bad. You could be arrested. So get a driver or a tour guide and make reservations in advance. None of the places that I'm mentioning have on-site accommodations. The best thing to do is stay in Modena. The last producer, which I love because it's women-run, Three Sisters, also founded in 1925. So interesting. Ballet was founded in 1925, Bartolani in 1925, Paltrianelli in 1926, and then Lombardini. Lombardini was founded in 1925. The father, Marco, is the winemaker, and the Three Sisters run the place. They introduced us warmly. They were so excited to see us. They showered us with love and food. So Chiara, Cecilia, Virginia, thank you for your hospitality. These wines are available in the United States, and they're terrific. Some of my favorite ones are not. You just have to go there because they have won many awards for their Italian sparkling wines. But the key Lambrusco di Sapporo and Grasparosa are here in the United States. So I think I've covered why you should be drinking Lambrusco, but let me just say again, these are very refreshing, sparkling wines, dry to semi-sweet, great fruit, balanced mid to high acidity, so very refreshing. And the alcohol level by volume level is usually around 8 to 10%. Okay, just to put that in perspective, a typical bottle of wine is 13.5 to 14%, and some red wines from what we call hot regions, so high temperature regions, can be 15%. I've even had a 16%. So if you really want to keep your alcohol levels down and sip the wine all day and share it with friends, and you don't want that quick buzz, these are great wines. Okay, they're just terrific wines. So that's my little tutorial on Lambrusco. As I said, it's not like Prosecco, which is another special sparkling wine of Italy, produced in the region in the north of Venezia in the Veneto by the Glera grape. It's similar, but not quite Bracchetto d'Asti, a semi-sweet red sparkling wine produced in the Piemonte area, also very good, but tends to be more residual sugar. Lambrusco has its own personality, and as I said, it's one wine, several styles. So you'll find one for you, and I suggest you go out and give it a shot, chill it up, drink it chilled, not too warm, not too cold, never too cold. We always tend to drink our wines too cold, our sparkling wines too cold. You don't want to do that. You don't want it too warm, and always try to drink it within 2 years of bottling. So you want these younger vintages. So we were tasting 2024s. Okay. If somebody offers you a Lambrusco that's 2010, you don't think so. You don't want that one. I did taste one old one, and it had lost its effervescence. So these to be drink young. Okay, so as I said at the beginning of the show, Emilio-Romagna is considered the breadbasket of Italy, and everybody I told that I was going there said, "Oh, you're so lucky. You're going to eat." And you know what? We did. We ate a lot. We ate a whole lot. And the good news is that there's plenty of options for vegetarians, because I don't eat meat, and this is a very meat-centric area. So here's the things you need to know about this region. So Bologna means the fat one. Okay. And you are going to have a lot of pork. It is known for its salume. Salumi is basically the plural for individual types of salumi. Okay. Salume. So there's mortadella. Mortadella is that big, large, round sausage, very pale pink. You're going to see chunks of white lard, cubes of lard in it, and pistachio nuts. It's a delicacy, often served just on, mostly these are served on beautiful charcuterie platters, but you may also have them wrapped in a piadina, which is a flat bread. So mortadella, you must try if you eat salumi. Prosciutto di Parma, that is the finest prosciutto ever, thin, slicely thin, salty, delicate, an amazing flavor to it. And there's another one called salami rosa, a smaller type of pork sausage. They're all pork sausages with cubes of lard, a little bit smaller. When we got charcuterie sent to us, they were just fanned out on a plate with beautiful slices of cheese. Excuse me. So David reached for the salumi, and I reached for the cheese. Okay, if you're going to Emilia-Romagna, you are going to love, and make sure you buy and bring back, because it's very expensive in the United States, Parmigiano Reggiano. Wheels of it everywhere. You chunk it. You get a special knife and you chunk it and serve it chunked. You can also grate it over pastas. It is not Parmesan cheese. So that shaker Parmesan cheese you see in grocery stores, no, not authentic. Parmigiano Reggiano is only made in Emilia-Romagna, around the area of Parma. There are farms and farms of pigs, excuse me, and cattle. This is ranch land. This is meat land. The way to tell if it's authentic is that you will look at the rind, and you will see embossed in the rind Parmigiano Reggiano and a date. That's very important. These are hard cheeses that are on average aged 18 months or more, usually 4 years, but even more. The longer it ages, the more intense the flavor. The best way to enjoy it, other than grated over pastas and meat dishes, is to drizzle balsamic vinegar di Modena on it, which is what I'm going to get to next. So if you go there, eat a lot of Parmigiano Reggiano because you'll never have anything like it in the United States. And if you do, it's going to be like 3 times the price, particularly now with tariffs. If you want something to bring back and give to people as gifts, bring back wedges. They'll vacuum pack it so you can pack it in your suitcase. I wish we had done that because as soon as we got back, I had regret that we had not purchased Parmigiano Reggiano because I went to the store and I'm like, they don't even have it here. Get it. Okay, before I get to balsamic vinegar, there's one other cheese that we discussed that was so good. It's like a soft, tangy cheese, kind of like a burrata that you would get in southern Italy, but a bit tangier and almost meltier. Meltier, is that a verb? It's called squaccarone. Squaccarone. And it was served for breakfast, for lunch, for dinner on the charcuterie plates. I couldn't get enough of it. It was as hard as Parmigiano Reggiano is, as soft and spreadable squaccarone is, and I loved it. I think it goes really well with a little drizzle of honey versus balsamic vinegar, but a lot of people drizzle it with the older balsamic vinegar, which has sweetness to it. It's delicious. You can, I think, pick it up to bring back, but your better bet probably for holding is Parmigiano Reggiano. So what we brought back was Aceto Balsamic Vinegar di Modena. So that is the official name, Aceto Balsamic Vinegar di Modena. It is the thick, amazing, flavorful balsamic vinegar only made in the Modena area. Okay, so this is super important. It has been recognized by both the Italian government and the European Union as a denomination of protected origin, or denomination origin controllata, which means it has the highest level of recognition as an artisan food product. This really is artisan vinegar at its best, particularly aged, and it's, amazing, drizzled over ice cream. We drizzled it over vanilla ice cream for dinner party this weekend. Our friends were like, we have to get this. You drizzle it over strawberries. You drizzle it over chunks of Parmigiano Reggiano. I even drizzle it over my Greek yogurt. It's better than honey, just better. So how is it made? It's made from crushed unfermented grapes, usually a grape called Trebbiano Modenese, because grapes tend to take on names. They have different grape strains, varieties that are local to each area. The grapes are boiled down to create a thick syrup that is left to ferment and condense. And then the liquid is placed in these very small wood barrels. They can be made of cherry wood, juniper wood, many kinds of wood, and they're left to age over time. In fact, the word balsam refers to the balminess of the wood and the aromas that would come out of the little production rooms, because they're literally rooms that are separated off and have natural air coming in, filter, to let these vinegars, age over time. We went to Paltrinelli, who I referenced. Cantina Paltrinelli has production facility. We visited it. We ended up bringing back, I think they're 55-year-old balsamic, and these are in small quantity. So usually Unfamilia, the family, I think it was 90 euros. So these are not inexpensive, but they're a lot more when you get back to the United States. So I think we bought one that was 5 years. I don't know, but it was a little more affordable, maybe 30 euros. And as I said, we served it drizzled over vanilla ice cream for a dinner party. And all I just wanted was to add blackberries. It would have been perfect. Just amazing. So that is a product you definitely want to buy, because anything you see at a grocery store called balsamic vinegar here is just vinegar. It's not. Aceto Balsamic Vinegar di Modena. Probably the best thing to buy. Great gift. You can bring back properly vacuum packed prosciutto di Parma and other salumi. I wouldn't, just because I still think that the dogs are going to sniff them out, but you can. So what else to eat when you're there? Okay, this is meat and pork country, which was a challenge for me because I don't eat meat and pork, but David loved it. You may have heard of lasagna alla bolognese. Okay, lasagna is one of the great dishes of the area. Here's something you should know. Where Tuscany and further south in Italy is cuisine that is olive oil based, there ain't no olive trees up north. It's butter-based cuisines. That was a big difference because my body's used to olive oil, but you got to adjust to buttery, rich food. So your pastas are going to be made also more egg noodle versus wheat. egg noodle versus wheat, and butter, cooked in butter. So lasagna, even if you don't eat meat, you got to try lasagna. I actually tried lasagna. It was delicious. It was delicious. It was meat, and I didn't love the meat taste, but oh God, I love the rest of it. The little nutmeg and the mascarpone, and I just love to learn how to make lasagna. We had lasagna, we had green lasagna, we had eggplant lasagna, we had a lot of lasagna. You can make it vegetarian. And I actually have here in front of me a wonderful book. I don't know if I can hold it up. It's called Tasting Italy. Tasting Italy. It's by America's Test Kitchen. I was using it as reference. That's a terrific book. The Culinary Forward by Jack Bishop. It takes you through Italy, and you can learn a lot. But there's some easy to prepare recipes, including lasagna, green lasagna bolognese. Ragu is a meat sauce. So spaghetti alla bolognese. Basically, bolognese sauce is a ragu, and it's made with different cuts of meat and pork, simmered slowly, added herbs. It's a process. They say that you can just smell the ragu, and we could as we were walking around Modena. And often it's served with egg noodles, long egg noodles. So the ragu tends to stick to the noodles, and it's delicious. Every restaurant serves this. From another specialty is tortellini and brodo. So the little stuffed tortellini, you see the women making them in the windows, usually stuffed with pork or chicken and served in a chicken broth. I tasted them, and I'm sure there's pork in them. They were delicious. And they're small. They're just delicious. You can also get stuffed flatbreads, which are like street food handhelds. Usually it's stuffed with slices of mortadella, the squacciagroni cheese, and some lettuce and tomato, and it's just handheld. You see a lot of people eating that. And of course, you see a lot of pizza. Vegetarians, don't worry. I had some amazing vegetable plates with wonderful radicchio from Treviso in the north, fresh tomatoes, fresh vegetables. This is a great agricultural region for vegetables. So you will not feel you're missing out. Where sometimes when I'm in Tuscany, I'm like, where are my vegetables? Okay, you will have them. In fact, I went to a couple of vegetarian restaurants. My favorite dish that I ate everywhere, two actually, and they're both vegetarian, cappellicci di zucca. So these are bigger, instead of the smaller tortellini, these are like bigger. They're big. They're called big hats. They're known so tortellini are little hats. Cappellicci are big hats, and they're stuffed with pumpkin or squash, or sometimes Swiss chard or spinach. Of course, I love the pumpkin because we're in fall. They were just divine. Buttery sauce. You're not going to get olive oil, and of course, grated with fresh Parmigiano Reggiano. I had that everywhere. The other dish that I absolutely love that I had for breakfast, lunch, and dinner and snacks, because I would take the ones from breakfast and put it in my bag, was something called erbazzone. So these are like savory Swiss chard pies. Sometimes they have cheese in them. They're kind of like spanakopita in Greece, but not quite phyllo-y, but almost. I ate so many of those. They you can make them in a sheet cake and cut them up in squares, which is the way I had most of them. I think they just literally cook them in a sheet cake pan and square them up. I actually there's a recipe for them in this book, Tasting Italy by America's Test Kitchen. And I was telling David before the show, I really want to try to make these erbazzonis, because what's nice about them, they're great for breakfast for people like me that like savory breakfast, but they're also fun to have as hors d'oeuvres when you're having a dinner party. And just terrific. Also, lots of black truffles. So I was blessed to have tagliatelle with black truffles shaved over it. Pretty happy about that. The breads are really good focaccia, whereas in Tuscany, the breads taste like sponge. Focaccia has more flavor, and you're going to have a lot of focaccia breads up in Emilio-Romagna. So it's just a terrific area to have savory, flavorful, rich, buttery, meat-centric, pork-centric, but options for vegetarian foods. And what goes really well with these? Lambrusco, because Lambrusco can cut through the fat, stand up to the salt, complement the tanginess and the richness. That's why Lambrusco works, because they often say in the wine and food world, what grows together goes together. Perfect example is here. However, if you're entertaining and you don't want to do an Italian meal, I would enjoy Lambrusco wines with Asian food, spicy Asian food, like dumplings or spicier. I would pair it with sushi. I would probably do a sobara with the sushi for the Lambrusco Grasparosa. I would probably do like a beef dish, an Asian Szechuan beef dish. I think it would go really well, of course, with all the Cajun fare we have down here in Louisiana, because Cajun fare tends to have a lot of andouille sausage, very sausage and pork based and spice. So Lambrusco does well here, which is why Bertolani, Alfredo Bertolani sells a lot of their Lambruscos here in Louisiana. I haven't tried it with Indian food. I would think that the sorbara would probably do better than the grasparosa with curries, but I'd like to try it, and also with Mexican food. But fried chicken, I can only imagine what fried chicken would taste like with either Lambrusco de sorbara or like a hot chicken with the grasparosa, Nashville hot chicken. I think it'd be amazing. And barbecue, pork or beef or chicken with Lambrusco de grasparosa, perfect pairing. So these are versatile wines. I love them. I hope that you're excited about trying them. If you choose to go to Italy and you want to go to Emilio-Romagna, the easiest thing to do is fly directly into Bologna. There are many airlines that service Bologna because it is a major college town, one of the greatest and oldest universities in Italy. It is a UNESCO World Heritage Site for their network of these covered walkways, the tetto. You're going to see these famous tall towers that are actually leaning. You're just wondering if they're going to topple over because the area has been impacted in the past by earthquakes. You're going to see amazing history and buildings, and of course, more food than you can imagine. So be prepared to eat heartily and heavily. Wash everything down with an aperitivo and some Lambrusco wines. And of course, save room for dessert, because there's some wonderful torta cakes. I didn't save enough room for dessert, but I had some wonderful apple torts because of the season, and just cakes. And of course, save room in your suitcase to bring back balsamic vinegar and Parmigiano Reggiano, because when you get back to the United States and you did not have them in your suitcase, you are so going to regret it like I do now. I wish I had just brought more back, because it is so much more expensive here. It's worth it. So I think that wraps up my little special on visiting Emilio-Romagna and Modena and Lambrusco. Oh, one last thing. If you're going with your spouse and maybe you're tired of looking at food all day, and there's some very historic food shops and pastry shops in Modena and also Bologna. This is two things to note. There is a Luciano Pavarotti museum, because Luciano Pavarotti was born in Modena. And so you can get a car and driver or hire a tour guide to take you to his museum. And within walking distance of Modena is the Enzo Ferrari Museum. There's actually two museums. There's one that is dedicated to the life of Enzo Ferrari, where he was born, a little further out, because Ferrari is everywhere. You can see signs of Ferrari everywhere, because he was born in around Modena. You can even see where his barbershop was. But the one we went to, it was all cars. I called it car porn, because I've never seen so many gorgeous cars in your life. And of course, David was all excited, and all the guys were excited. And you saw car movies, and you learn about Enzo Ferrari and how he created these special engines and become, the motor, the racing champion of the world. If you are into cars, or your other half is into cars, go to the Ferrari Museum. It's a really fun and easy to walk from Modena to see. Okay, lots of museums, music, cars, great food, souvenirs. I think Emilio-Romagna is a place I want to go back and explore more, and I hope you consider visiting as well. I want to thank the Consortio Tutela Lambrusco, who organized our trip. Other than that, I'm giving you the show out of my pure excitement for the area and my desire to help you step outside your comfort zone when it comes to eating and, of course, trying wines, because I want you to sip fearlessly and fabulously, and always in moderation and with responsibility, but with great joy, because it's about savoring life to the fullest. And with that, I close and say, you have a choice on what you do and how you live and where you go and who you want to spend time with. Be choosy, and always choose fearless and fabulous, and anything that brings you joy and gives joy to others, because that's what life is all about. Chin chin. I'm Melanie Young. Please follow me at Melanie Fabulous. Check me out on MelanieYoung.com. Check out my books, Getting Things Off My Chest, A Survivor's Guide to Staying Fearless and Fabulous in the Face of Breast Cancer. I'm a survivor. And Fearless, Fabulous You, Lessons on Living Life on Your Terms, which is the inspiration for this show. Live life on your terms. You deserve it. And I'll see you on another episode of Fearless, Fabulous You. Grazie. Chin chin.